don't be afraid to, take a chance. I hear people say, "Oh, I never do that because of the loss of control, or they cost more money, or you never save money." And saving money was a good thing, a good outcome, but it was really about delivering a better service, and driving value. And you have to be able to, take that traditional model and craft it your own. You have the ability to kind of do that in this kind of a situation. And it doesn't have to be the traditional outsourcing concept. And I would say think outside of the box and get creative. And if you find a partner like HCTec, then then everyone wins. That's kind of the beauty of these types of relationships, is it is a win-win for both parties. And if you can find that value for both parties, I think then it becomes a really good relationship and a good experience. So I would just say, don't be afraid and be creative.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit there, because I was one of those people that was skeptical and afraid before this. We started our Epic implementation in December of 2010, and I was on the initial team that started that, so I've been through the whole process. And part of that loss of control was something that was, it was hard for me personally, because I've been so tied to our whole project. But when I was able to step back and I was able to look at what we could accomplish if we just thought a little bit differently, and we could have access to higher skills and train, cross-train, and just the sky is really the limit with what can be done with these services. And to HCTec's credit, they're so wonderful and flexible. The flexibility that's offered to make this fit us and what our needs are, it hasn't felt like we outsourced anything. It's felt like we hired some new FTEs, and that we've taken a different strategic approach to be able to meet the needs. And it is a little bit of a leap of faith, but yeah, it's been well worth the ride for us.
Yes, thanks.
I think one thing I wish I would have done differently back in December, I wish I really would have engaged my entire IT team to take a more active role in the success to the outsourced piece. I think culturally we were kind of used to teams needed some type of augmented work. They'd be off in a bubble. They would get their resources, and those resources were essentially theirs for a small window of time, and then they were gone. So there was this level of angst between communicating between different levels in IT as to what are your resources doing, how can we empower them to do more. So it very much was a vacuum in the beginning, which I think unfortunately led to this expectation that day one, all these people we just onboarded are off and running. And it's that crawl, walk, run mentality. We can't run right on day one. We will get there. But I think where I wish I would have done it differently is empowered the entire leadership from the IT standpoint to take a more active role. If I had lots of conversations with our IT team leads when they have conversations and questions about HCTec, and said, well, if they were your resource, what would you do? Well, I would go over and talk to them. We'll go over and talk to them. Get out of this notion that they're outsourced, they're in Atlanta, they're somewhere else. Get out of that notion, they're your team. And we've gotten there now, and I was continually preaching that from the beginning, but I wish I'd done and actually pulled in a lot of our leadership to make it a group effort, that it wasn't just me kind of out there saying, hey, HCTec's here, go use them. It was them taking an active role in their own success with their team. So the teams that have been very successful from day one are my leads that really engaged them from day one. So we're doing a lot of lessons learned, kind of pairing them up with other leads who have just kind of decided not to communicate with their resources and just give them a bulk of work to do. So a lot of that kind of cross communication with our leadership and what's worked really well has been helping. I just wish I would have done it a lot sooner.
Yeah, thanks.
I think the easiest way for me to describe, because I've had these conversations with other partners, Adventist Health is in a couple of joint operating company agreements now. So as we talk to other people, really just telling them about our story. So really the reason why we even started looking at this was we built an IT playbook that really demanded that we transform the way we do our work. So if we were going to do that, we couldn't be the same IT shop that we were last year. We needed to be different. And in order to do that, it wasn't going to be small incremental things. We needed to take some big swings. And doing that means it's going to be uncomfortable, and you need to look outside of the box. And I know that's a cliche, but it is so true. Trying to get other people to say, this is something we're going to try, let's demonstrate it, why don't you watch, and if you're still concerned about it in 6 months, then we'll revisit. But just really being able to think outside the box and being able to do something different really allows your clinical partners to transform the work they're doing if we enable that. So I think that's the message as I talk to other Adventist Health partners that are outside of Adventist Health about opportunity. I think that's something that is important to understand. We're not just doing it to save money. It's changing the way that we do our work.